Hi, I'm Tord Reklev, casual Pokemon player from Norway, and you're listening to the Deaddrawgaming podcast, like no one ever was.
What's up, Dead Drawers, and welcome to episode number 73 of Deaddrawgaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was. We have a super exciting episode for you guys today, so if you are hyped just like we are, make sure to hit that like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. But you guys, before we get too far into things today, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you guys to my co-hosts who are with me every single week. Hello, Danny. Hello, Darrin. How are you doing today, boys?
What up, guys? Darrin here. I am ready for a Pokemon podcast. This episode is super duper mega extra special because we have a super duper special guest interview.
Oh, I thought it was because we're recording on Pokemon Day.
That's also a great reason. So yeah, let's go with both. Danny, how are you?
I didn't even remember it was Pokemon Day until I got home from work and opened up like social media and saw that it was Pokemon Day. I feel bad about that. I'm doing good. I have one box, like one 5K. Well, I guess it's technically a 5K box, but it's more than that. But one box left of bulk to sort through. But we ran out of the boxes we're putting them in, so got to get more of those. But it looks really pretty, so that's cool. But I'm doing good.
Didn't we order like 300,000 count boxes?
Yeah, but we have more cards than that.
Oh, neat.
So, but still,
yeah, we did
left that didn't make the cut. Unfortunately,
that's funny.
I remember putting most of those together. I guess not most, but
definitely not most.
At least I put at least 50 together.
Okay, that wouldn't be most. Math is difficult sometimes.
Agree.
I put most of them together that weekend that we got them.
Did you know today was Pokemon Day, Dan?
I did when I opened my phone and saw Facebook.
You know, last year I remember talking about it, and I remember like going through it ahead of time and all these events that happened or were going to happen. That was like a big segment of the podcast last year. And last week we didn't have any news about it. And then when I looked at the events today, like when I was like, oh, what's all going on for Pokemon Day? Snapchat filters and a reboot of the Pokemon Pikachu hat from Pokemon Go. And then you can watch Pokemon the movie I Choose You. And that was like it. Like, that's it?
You could catch the party Pikachus in Pokemon Go also.
That's how I found out.
Is that what you meant by the thing?
Yeah. Like last year you could watch, like I think they had all of the world streamed on their Twitch channel. They had like all of the movies, like a marathon on Disney XD. They had a ton of stuff going on. And there's just not much this year. I could be wrong. I guess maybe I'm remembering last year differently, or maybe I'm missing stuff. But I'm on Pokemon's official website, and there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot that happened today. But it is a Monday. No, it's a Tuesday. Got my days mixed up. How else are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. Like I said, it's Pokemon Day, so happy Pokemon Day, everyone. 22 years of Pokemon. So it's been a heck of a 22 years.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. But you guys want to get into today's agenda?
Yeah.
So,
are you gonna read it like it is?
So,
sing it.
You guys, no, I don't know all the song. I don't know like all the references. So I can't.
Really? They're all song titles.
Well, I know that they're all song titles, but I don't know like all the references. Anyways, you guys, when Danny typed up the agenda for today, he did them all with song titles. So, we're going to start you guys off with Pokemon news is good news. Then we're going to jump into Darrin, Let's It Go. Then we are going to go into I Want to Be a Pro Player So Freaking Bad. Then we're going to jump into Boulevard of Broken Streams. Then we'll get into 8 days a week. Top 5 common Pokemon cards in a current format. Then we will jump into Don't Ask Me No Questions. Then Can't Buy Me Love. Then into the Great Wide Open.
I forgot about Costa Mesa when I was making this, so we'll fit that after Darrin lets it go. A little bit of it before we talk about pro players.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, I will pass it off to Danny and Darrin, who can talk about all the good news that is non-TCG related.
Starting off with a little bit of Pokemon Go. Of course, the biggest news is the Party Hat Pikachu. There are a ton of them, and I caught a whole bunch. It took me forever to find a male. I had like 10 females before a male even showed up for me. I thought that was strange. But you can catch your Party Pikachu until February 28th, 2100 UTC. So figure out what that is for your time zone, and that's how long you have to catch your Party Pikachus. And they're everywhere. You open your game, you go somewhere that Pokemon regularly appear, you're going to find one. And then here's another piece of news. As a special tie-in to the Pokemon franchise's legendary year, Niantic has announced that from February 23rd until March 5th, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza will all be appearing in Pokemon Go raids. There's a small twist, however. If Groudon and Kyogre win, Pokemon that prefer sunny or rainy type weather, like Trapinch or Lotad, for example, are more likely to hatch from eggs. Otherwise, Pokemon that prefer windy weather will be more likely to hatch.
Does it give any examples of Pokemon that like windy weather?
Psychic types like windy weather. No, it didn't give any examples, but that's an example. So you could catch you could hatch all the Spoinks that you want, all of them.
Like Schwinda? That was my Spinda. Got nothing.
You know what? I needed to scroll down a little bit more. So there is, if you go to PokemonGoHub.net, they have a post about Legendary Week, and it has an infographic of every Pokemon that can hatch, depending on whether or not Kyogre and Groudon win, or if Rayquaza wins. So for Rayquaza, looks like, yeah, there's Spoink on the list, but more importantly, there's Aerodactyl, there's Bagon, Beldum. I mean, there's just a ton of great stuff that I would rather hatch than, you know what? I could use some Trapinch, I guess. But like I said, I would much rather have Rayquaza win this one. So hit up those Rayquaza raids, my friends. And finally, for Pokemon Go, very quickly, Community Day was last Saturday. Did either of you get a chance to get out and find yourself any Dratini?
No. Nope. I was at work the whole time that event was going on. Felt bad.
That is one very common complaint about Pokemon Go Community Day so far, is that it's only a few hours in the middle of the day. So anyone that works on that Saturday, they are just out of luck. Fortunately for me, I did not have to work that day, so I went and found myself 2 shiny Dratini, evolved one of them up to Dragonite, and also found a perfect IV Dragonite. I'm pretty stoked.
Nice.
We do have a friend in the Madison area that caught 10 shiny Dratini. Jeez. Good for him.
Yeah, he went nuts.
But that's it for Pokemon Go news. Danny, what can you tell us about other non-TCG news?
I guess I can save I don't know if you guys watched it at all, but there was a trailer that came out for the new 21st Pokemon movie. The film's called Pokemon Everyone's Story. Did you guys watch the trailer at all?
I did not.
I have the link pulled up for it, but I've yet to watch it.
That's not bad. I'll just read over the little blurb here. Mysterious young girl named Rarugo narrates the trailer. She is also seen defending an unseen Pokemon or human in the mountains in one shot. The trailer showcases the previously revealed girl from the film's poster, Lisa, who is revealed to own an Eevee, along with a bunch of trainers and their Johto Pokemon. There's a street performer named Kagachi who owns a Sudowoodo, a researcher named Torito who owns a Chansey, and an old woman named Hisui who owns a Totodile, Togepi, Smoochum, and Marill. Ash and Pikachu meet up with the trainers, and then Lugia flies over the city. We hear its Japanese theme music for the second movie. Zerora was not revealed, though it will probably be featured in the movie like Marshadow in last year's. So you can watch the trailer on PokeBeach, you can watch it on Cerebi, you can watch it probably on a lot of different outlets. So take the time, watch it. Why not? It's a trailer. Might as well check it out. Other than that, we have a little bit of Pokemon video game news. Details for the next battle competition have been announced. This is the 2018 International Challenge March competition. This is a double battle competition using standard VGC rules, with players being able to earn CP to go towards qualification for the World Championships. All Pokemon will be raised to level 50 for the duration of the competition. Registration runs from March 15th to March 22nd. Battles will run from March 23rd through March 25th. All entrants will get 50 battle points. In addition to this, this allows players to earn championship points to go towards a place in the World Championships. I already said that, but there's that for you. And then one other bit of news for the video game is Regigigas and Heatran distributions via Pokemon Trainer Club. So if you sign up for the Pokemon Trainer Club newsletter by March 1st, you'll receive a serial code to download Regigigas and Heatran to your copies of Pokemon Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon. The newsletter will arrive via email in March. European fans will receive both Pokemon through Nintendo Network from March 1st through March 24th. Like the Dialga and Palkia distribution this month, both Pokemon have different stats depending on which game you download them to. So, Dan and Darrin, mostly probably Dan, you can go and sign up for the Pokemon Trainer Club newsletter by March 1st, and you'll get a serial code to download. Have you chosen a starter yet in Ultra Sun?
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Oh, that's right. You made it through the storyline.
Yep. No.
So it'll be... How far did you make it through?
I picked Rowlet.
Okay.
And that's it.
But you only have one Pokemon.
Correct.
Okay, so this would be number 2.
Well,
number 2 is Regigigas.
I might have caught a Grubbin.
Okay.
So when you go face your first... What do they call them in these? Your first island? Trial. You can have a Regigigas and a Rowlet.
Seems good.
Seems pretty good, yeah. I wanted to pop in and say one thing about that international challenge. There was some unhappiness with the fact that the games that like the window that you can play your games is the same weekend as Portland's Oregon regionals.
Oh.
So it's like you can only do one or the other, I'm pretty sure. You can, unless you have multiple teams.
Are they time sensitive?
Yeah.
Like you can't... Oh, okay.
Well, I mean...
So you can't play like your rounds of Swiss and then...
I guess you can, but that's a lot of... I mean, that's a lot of Pokemon in one weekend, which is fine. I mean, I'm sure some people will do it. The problem is, I don't think you can use your same team, especially if you do well in Swiss at Portland, because your game is locked. So you would need a different... So you need to play on a different game with a different team. Like I think that's how that works.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, I guess. But all I can say is I did hear some people complaining that it's the same weekend. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean, Portland is obviously... I think you have... When is Charlotte? That's right before then, the week before?
Yeah.
It's like March 20... It's like a month from right now, right?
We do have... Well, that's when Portland is. We do have a lot of regionals that are kind of like all over the place, pretty close together right now, up until I think you get a little break in April.
Yeah, the entire month of April actually is a break.
So, but they're gonna have a different battle competition in April, right? They do one every month.
I believe they do. Gotta
get those points somehow.
Get them.
Cool. All All right. Well, we did get some new TCG leaks for the actual trading card game. We had an article that dropped last week from one of our pro players, Rukan, going over the set list for Forbidden Light. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to read that article, but I feel like I'm a smart guy, and then editing it made me feel not that smart anymore, because some of the stuff that he comes up with and some of the stuff that he, like all the information that he has just readily available, just bouncing inside of his mind, just drives me insane. Like I can't understand how somebody's brain can hold that much information. But just the idea of this guy is a relatively newer player in Rukan and coming up with all these different pairings and ideas, and this set doesn't even come out until May. So it's a really interesting article. He breaks everything down really well, gives you a lot of ideas for the upcoming set of Forbidden Light. A lot of people gave him a little bit of flack because Forbidden Light doesn't come out until May, so why is he analyzing it right now? But for him, May is the next regional that he's going to. Well, this set is the next regional that he's going to, because the next regional that he goes to is Madison. So he wants to start planning properly now, so that way he's prepared for Madison regionals. So makes sense to me. It's really cool. You can check that on our website. But with that, let's move on. Dan, do you want to go over one of these newer trading card scans, leaks that we've gotten?
Yeah, definitely. And I am going to start with the newest Zygarde GX. So this is actually different than the one we were talking about. We don't know, I guess, for certain, because this is going to be coming up for Japan's gym tournaments, like the promos that they'll be giving away. I assume this is something we'll be getting. Don't know that it's going to be in Forbidden Light necessarily. Chances are that it probably will be. Anyway, Zygarde GX is a 100 HP fighting type basic Pokemon with 3 attacks. Its first attack for 1 colorless energy, Osmosis, does 20 damage. Its second attack for fighting colorless, Cellstorm, does 80 damage. Heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. Fighting, colorless, Liberation GX, 120x damage. Your opponent reveals their hand. This attack does 120 damage times the number of energy cards you find there. You can't use more than 1 GX attack in a game. When your Pokemon GX is knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards, weak to grass, no resistance, a retreat cost of 2.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty not good at all. In the same article, we did get the Aether Foundation employee. It is a supporter card that reads, put 3 Alolan Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand.
That's bad, and it's better than Zygarde GX.
Yes?
I'm just saying that Zygarde GX isn't good.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing how bad it is. Like, okay, its GX attack is fine, but you're playing so many decks right now that run only double colorless energies. The chances of them having one in their hand to be able to one-hit
2 in their
KO.
hand, even.
Well, would 1 double colorless energy count as 1? Oh yeah, because it's energy cards. So it'll only count as 1. So you're only doing 1.
Yeah, they have to have half their energy in their hand.
That's insane. Otherwise, you'd have to play like a Gardevoir deck that runs a bunch of fairy energies or something. There's not a whole lot out there. Yeah, Guzzlord. Because even if you look at like Buzzwole decks, they're just running strong energies and double colorless energies for the most part. I just don't. I mean, there might be a place for that in the meta later on, but that's your GX attack. Like its other 2 attacks, you're only doing 80 damage for 3 energy. Come on. Really?
A flat 20? This card is terrible.
Yeah. You can't even do like 20 to the bench.
Zygarde EX is better.
20 spread. Anything?
I can't believe that a card was printed with the name Zygarde, and its first attack for 1 colorless does 20 flat. That's bonkers. What is this, 2010? Like, what is happening right now? Ugh.
And the picture makes it look like the card is bent in half. Do you think all of them come like that?
Oh, okay, that would be worth it. That would actually be pretty funny.
If this isn't bulk enough, all of your Zygarde GXs will come heavily played.
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, I think that some people get so hyped on like, oh, this can do so much damage. Like, yeah, theoretically it can do a lot of damage, but that doesn't really matter when you only need to hit for 190 to 240 typically, and the chance of that happening with this card is very slim. So, pass.
Pass.
All right, Darren.
All right.
What do you got for us?
I'm going to grab a hold of this Rockruff and Lycanroc from Forbidden Light Leak. Rockruff is a 70 HP fighting basic Pokemon. Its attack for 1 fighting and 1 colorless is called Surprise Attack. 50 damage, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. Weak to grass, resistance, none, and a retreat cost of 1. Lycanroc, 120 HP fighting type Pokemon. Stage 1, of course. First attack for 1 fighting, 1 colorless. Dangerous Rogue, 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Second attack, fighting, colorless. Accelerock, 100 damage. Weak to grass, of course. Resistant to none, and a retreat cost of 2. Now, the most important thing about this is this Rockruff art is so good. It makes me think of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yo, that's exactly what this looks like.
Man.
So, it also one-hit KOs Zoroark GX, which is pretty cool.
With a coin flip, of course.
All you got to do is Strong Energy, Choice Band, Kukui, Flip Heads, GG.
Yeah, GG is right. Dangerous Rogue, though, 20 plus, and then 20 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is the anti-Zoroark GX card, because it's a non-EX Lycanroc attacker that hits your opponent based on their bench damage. Like, this is made to fight Zoroark.
Yeah. And I mean, those Zoroark GX heavy decks, they oftentimes want to have, 2 or 3 on the bench, plus you've got Tapu Lele, plus you've got, other stuff that people are going to fill up their bench with. Yep. But they've got 5 on the bench.
That's 240 without a strong or a choice or anything.
I actually think most importantly here is a 70 HP Rockruff.
Yeah, 70, not 60.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, this Rockruff and this Lycanroc both are good.
I wish this could have gone on to a Pokemon that's not Lycanroc.
I know. This could have been Primeape. Come on.
I was just going to say that.
70 HP Mankey. Oh, yeah. Why not?
I like that idea.
But still pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. We can move on to another card that's got some pretty cool art, in my opinion at least, and that's Hoopa. So Hoopa is a psychic Pokemon with 80 HP. It's a basic. For 1 psychic energy, it does Hyperspace Ring. You can search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck afterwards. And then for 1 psychic energy, it does Psybolt. 10 damage, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Weak to psychic, no resistance, 1 retreat. If this had 0 retreat, this card would be pretty cool.
Yes. Actually.
Or if its first attack was just a colorless.
Or if its first attack was...
No energy?
No energy requirement.
True.
I don't know if it'd be able to have 80 HP then.
Well, I just say that. I mean, like, Vulpix searches 2 Pokemon with no energy requirement. Why not be able to do the same with items? No, I get that's, a little different, but still, pretty neat.
And he's eating donuts.
Yeah, donuts, though, are pretty important. What are those other things? I see the donuts.
Those are...
I don't know.
Look like dog biscuits.
They kind of do look... Maybe they're Poke blocks or something. I don't know.
Donuts and dog biscuits. Look how happy he is.
Pretty
happy, smiling. He's got his ears pierced, eating his donuts, drinking his milk.
That's the name of your band that made that set list for our agenda today. Donuts and dog biscuits.
When I was growing up, my band name was actually Wink 91.
I know.
Did I tell you that already?
Yeah, because one eye closed.
Because half of a blink is a wink. Come on, that's clever.
It is. It's very.
Dan, what else you got?
I don't know how to nicely say that literally every single other card that got released is bad.
I mean, we say it all the time after we read them anyway, so...
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start with Florges, the fairy Pokemon with 120 HP. That is a stage 2 that evolves from Floette. Has an ability called Wonder Gift. Once during your turn before you attack, you may flip a coin. If heads, put an item card from your discard pile on top of your deck. And then its attack, Misguard, does 70 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Dragon Pokemon. It has a weakness to metal, a resistance to dark, and a retreat cost of 2.
Yeah, not bueno.
That's pretty bad. I'm
Not
not even going to spend
good.
time talking about it, because I'm going to also talk about the next bad card, which is Aegislash. This Pokemon is a Psychic type stage 2 with 150 HP that evolves from Doublade. It has 2 attacks. Its first attack for 1 colorless energy is Record of Death. If the defending Pokemon is damaged by an attack during your next turn, it is knocked out. And then its second attack for Psychic, Draining Slash, 90 damage. Heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. It is weak to dark, has a resistance to fighting, and a retreat cost of 2. Same thing, we're going to skip right over that. Go on to Goodra, which is the next bad card that we have. Is a dragon type Pokemon that's also a stage 2 with 160 HP. It evolves from Sliggoo. Has an ability called Hydration. Whenever you attach a water energy from your hand to this Pokemon, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. Water Fairy colorless for its second attack. Soaking Horn, 80 plus damage. If this Pokemon was healed during your turn, this attack does 80 more damage. It has a weakness to Fairy, no resistance, and a retreat cost of 3. Every set needs filler rares.
I don't think Florges is that terrible.
I think it's that terrible.
It's a coin flip that goes on top of your deck. I wish for the coin flip, it should go into your hand.
Well, I mean, you already have... It depends, I guess, on what you partner this up with. You already have Zoroark. So if you put it at the top, coin flip, put it at the top, trade, you get it.
Yeah.
Or use your supporter for the turn, a Kakui or something else. The problem is the fact that it's a stage 2.
And a coin flip.
And a coin flip. If it was like a basic and a coin flip or something like that, it would be a lot better. But can you imagine like partnering this up with Zoroark, and then you have a couple of these down, and you can pull puzzles back, put them on top, pull other stuff back.
Missing clovers.
Missing clovers. Greedy dice.
Oh man, I was streaming last night.
I watched.
I
really wanted you to find your greedy dice, and you didn't.
I used Missing Clover for 4 Missing Clovers twice against Frank in one game. Felt good.
Oh my god.
The first game he had 3 greedy dice in his hand, and he just Missing Clovered, and I was really hoping that he would, when he Missing Clovered and took his prize, it would be a greedy dice, and it wasn't.
That would have been so good.
Never hit the greedy dice combo, but anyways, the rest of these, a lot of the cards now that are coming in Forbidden Light, we did get pictures, or there's scans of basically all of them now. We're not going to sit here and go over them all, but we do get that Judge reprint, which is pretty interesting. The Guzzlord, the baby version got, not the baby version, I guess the non-GX version has been there. I think Tyrantrum is pretty cool. Its ability is called Tyranno Heart, which is just neat. But we don't need to go over all of these. There's a ton of them, so.
Yeah, we can just let it go on those.
Ooh, there it is.
Move on to our next segment. Darrin, what do you got?
Well, for our listeners and for you guys as well, a super duper segment, an interview with none other than the Norwegian master of Pokemon, Tord Reklev, came on and talked to me about a little bit of everything, honestly. It was a really great interview, super duper nice guy, and I couldn't be happier with all the information, all the things we talked about. But I mean, without further ado, why don't I just let you guys listen to it? So here it is, my interview with Tord Reklev. Enjoy. Okay, Dead Drawers, we are now here with Tord Reklev, probably the greatest player of our current Pokemon era, and we've got some questions for him. First of all, Tord, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm finally, I think, almost healthy again from all the traveling and stuff. So feeling a lot better now.
Good. I suppose traveling a whole lot, you can pick up some weird stuff. So you've been fighting a cold or something?
Yeah, actually been pretty sick. I got sick like a week before Oceania, and I couldn't really recover for quite a while. So
even in Oceania, you were sick at Oceania?
Yes, I was really sick. I was coughing on all my opponents, and
oh no,
it can't have been very cool to play against, honestly. It was definitely very unfortunate there, and very fortunate in the in-game play and games.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Why don't we jump into some of these questions here? First of all, I have to ask for Team DDG. Do you know who Frank Persick is?
I do know who he is. People have made a lot of jokes of him being looking quite similar to me. So that's I've gotten the joke now, and we might kind of look alike.
Good. I'm glad you know. So, okay, a little more seriously, can you tell me about Oceania? Other than being sick, what are some memorable matches? And can you tell me a little bit about the deck you played, why you picked it, and how you liked it throughout the weekend?
Yes, of course. The Germany regionals was a couple weeks before this one. And I was really liking Sauropod still. So I went for Sauropod going into that regionals, but it didn't go well at all because people were really trying to counter that deck. So there was so many mill decks there. And I just ran into too many of them, and I just took straight auto losses and didn't do well at all. I didn't get any points or, nothing. So
oh no!
Decided to change it up then, because I still wanted to play Zorak, but Zorak lost a mill. So I had to build a Zorak deck that could still beat mill, and that leaves you with very few options actually. Because Slice-and-Nerk doesn't do very well against it either. And a bunch of Zorak ones don't really do well because you're so reliant on your DCs. Mm-hmm. And using Zorak as an attacker, and it's just hard to get through the Hoopas and the Sylveons and stuff. But one variant that actually can do that is the Gardevoir deck. Gardevoir Zorak deck. So I sought out Golispod for Gardevoir and Gallade, and that gives you a lot of room against mill decks, and of course against anything else as well, because the cards are very, very good. Gallade is great against any Zorak variant, and Gardevoir is just maybe the best card we have in the format right now. Like, once you get it out on the field, it's just extremely powerful. The GX attack lets you get back anything. I actually made a post about this after Oceania, where I said that this is a deck you can cheat with in a lot of ways. So
really?
Yeah, legally cheat.
Oh, sure.
yeah. You not like you could, for example, take random cards from the discard pile back up to your hand with Puzzle of Time. And you could shuffle your discard pile back into your deck with the GX attack. You could randomly remove damage counters with Max Potion. You could remove energy from your opponent's Pokemon with Hammer. Discard your opponent's bench. Discard your bench. Parallel City. You could do almost anything with the deck. Draw way too many cards, of course, with Zorak. So the deck gave you a lot of options. And with the Puzzle of Time Machine and Mallow Zorak, you could access anything in your whole deck at any time, and in your discard pile, of course. So it just gives you so much room for kind of outplaying your opponent and just being very able to adapt to whatever situation comes up to you. And of course, with the Zorak Mallow engine, getting a turn 2 Gardevoir is actually pretty easy as well, which normal stage 2 decks have a very hard time doing on its own. Then you feel like you're kind of lucky if you get the turn 2 Rare Candy stage 2 when playing a straight stage 2 deck, I feel like. But if you're playing Zorak Mallow, you just pick them out of your deck right away, and you're able to have like these insane turns in the early stages of the game that just can accelerate the game out of control and make you very far ahead and just straight up win. I had a lot of games like that on stream where I got the Zorak and the Mallow and the Bridget. That's basically it. But those cards in my opening hand can give me a stage 2 on my second turn with an energy. And that's just very hard to deal with, even with matchups that seems unfavorable, like Beswell, Lysenrock. So yeah, we put a lot of thoughts and efforts into this deck, and it really worked out. It was a really hard deck to play as well, though. So being as sick as I was actually considering playing Sauropod instead of this going into the tournament, just because I knew even half dead I could play Sauropod pretty optimally. But decided to just go with what we thought was the best deck, and was just thinking that, all right, I'll just have to pull myself together and fight anyway, and try to make it through. So
it looks like, so I'm on Limitless TCG right now, looking at your list, and it looks like there were 6 of you in top 64 that ran this same list. I mean, do you guys have a lot of testing that you do together, or did one of you come up with this deck and convince everyone else? So was it a group effort, or who's the genius?
Me and Philip started testing the same concept after the German regionals, but our list differed a bit. His list was much more straight, a lot more Evo sodas, and more consistent than mine, actually. It's pretty cool. And I tested all these tech cards, but in the end we ended up playing my version, because it gave you it fixed all the problems the deck had against the worst matchups. So playing the Hammer, the Parallel City, the Max Potion, and such just gave you so much extra power. And all these single tech cards with Puzzle and the Gardevoir GX attack, you could actually use every one-off tech card 6 times. 1 time normally, and Puzzle twice, and GX attack the same card plus the 4 puzzles back. And yeah, you could use the same hammer 6 times. So say you play against an opponent who doesn't have energy or like special retrieval in a DC deck, like any Zorak deck, and you just spam the hammer and the Max Potion, he will just run out of stuff to do eventually. So you can even deck him. You can just do whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point. Your 2 field blowers become 10 or 12 if you need them. There is no way for a Garbodor deck to deal with something like that. Like, that's just too many field blowers.
Yeah, it felt like you had unlimited resources. They weren't unlimited, but they were definitely more than enough to handle whatever you could be up against in that matter. So definitely a very cool deck. Very, very hard to handle, though. A lot of complex play and sequencing that you kind of need to do right. And set up your field. Everything just has to be navigated good. But if you can navigate this deck on a higher level, I think it's definitely extremely hard to beat. or it was at least going into this tournament before the new set came around.
It does look like, yeah, definitely tough to beat. With the new Ultra Prism set out, are there any changes that you would make now to this list?
The new set came with some problems to the deck. Both the Metal deck and the Glaceon, which came out of Ultra Prism, gives it some big problems.
Okay.
So Glaceon just shuts down the whole engine.
Yeah.
So you can't attach extra energies anymore. So it can be kind of hard to one-shot it, and it can be kind of hard to set up in the first place because your deck revolves around Zorak, and the Mallow doesn't really do anything unless you can draw the cards in the same turn as well. So that's definitely a big problem. And in addition to that, Metal decks can one-shot the whole deck. So
right.
You're a little slower than other Zorak variants, but you can't really pressure Metal decks. I'm mostly talking about the Main Zone now, because you don't have any way to lock down his ability. So as soon as he gets set up, he can just run over you, take 6 prizes in 3 turns, and it's going to be pretty hard to stop him as well. There's not too many things you can actually do against him other than spam Gillade and hope he doesn't get enough Guzmas to close out the game.
Exactly. Yeah, it sounds like a couple new decks in the meta that are really tough to deal with.
Yes, so you could kind of try to fix those problems with adding more supporters for Glaceon and maybe adding a Clefairy for the Metal matchup, the little guy, 40 HP.
Yeah.
Again, copy attacks. So you can charge him, you can give him an extra energy with Gardevoir and then attach DC from hand. So you fill his energy costs in one single turn, and you can trade Fairy Ball with him and just puzzle him back and stuff. But you definitely have to do some changes to the deck now. You can't just play the same list. That will not do good against the new decks, at least.
Exactly. Yes, the meta is always shifting, always changing. Let's switch up gears a little bit. I wanted to ask you about your finals match with Joe. How did that go for you? Was it a lot of fun, or were you just like sick out of your mind and it was a blur?
Even if I was sick, I still enjoyed, of course, going to the final again. It was an insane experience, and so much hype going in as well because I was so close to doing something almost unimaginable. The finals was on Sunday, so we had a whole day between the top 8, top 4 match and before the finals. So I did feel some pressure, but I was also very relaxed because going into the tournament sick, my expectations were super low. I was already like set on going and not even advancing to day 2 and just having a very mediocre run, no fate at all. And it's still kind of hard to believe for me that I actually did good in Australia and then just fizzle out. It was, the match was back to your question. The match was really interesting, kinda. Felt like the first game he made a big mistake, touching his max elixir wrong, which basically just sealed the game. The game was in my favor before that, but that was a big swing turn, which could have made it in his favor again. And with him misplacing energy there, it was basically game over. So the first game was just wrapped up there, and he kind of did a shame concede on his next turn as well. Just went to the second game.
Gotcha.
The second game, I bricked, bricked Fireball. No attacking options, no draw supporters, no Bridget, no Lele, no Candy Gardevoir, no nothing. Got a couple basics though, so that was okay. And I got a Sora as well, but against the Buzzwole deck, he won't survive a turn for me to evolve him, so didn't help too much. So by the time I got set up, he had taken way too many prizes. In addition to that, I whiffed energy after setting up for 2 or 3 turns and priced my max potion. So everything was super hard for me, and it was very, very hard for me to come back. If I would have been to win that game, it will involve him missing Guzma for 4 turns, I think. He missed the first 2, but he hit it on his 3rd turn, so then it was game over. I was very far behind. And the last game, I thought it was all over. I put down my prices and I hear a lot of noise from the commentators and the crowd. And I knew something was very wrong. So I searched through my deck with my Bridget, and sure enough, Mew was nowhere to be seen, and and Max Potion was nowhere to be seen. So that was pretty bad. I was pretty sure I lost at that point, honestly. But the game did plan out much better than that, because I was able to top deck a Zorak, I think, and then I suddenly could get a turn to Gardevoir with the Zorak and put a lot of energies down on the field. But this was only good because Joe's start was a Remoraid, a Buzzwole bench, and an energy, and that was it. That was all he could do in his first turn. So if he had gotten a knockout in his first turn, or just a Rockruff, a Max Elixir hit, a Remoraid, just something more, the game would be so hard for me to win. But getting that knockout, going first, and him not doing much at all on his first turn actually made that game very winnable for me, in addition to my turn to Gardevoir with a lot of energies on it. So it felt very fortunate to win that game, even with the Mew and Max Potion priced.
Well, congratulations again on your 3rd international championship. Are you going to go to the Latin American International Championship?
Yes, I am. I wasn't there last year, but this year I really want to go to them all, and I have enough points this year. I didn't have that last year. Only had the top 16 stipend to go, but
yeah, now the top 4. That's a big difference in amount of money.
It is. So now I won't have any expenses going. So I will definitely try to go this time. I have some more free time this season as well. I'm more free from school now, so yeah, I'm able to travel a lot more and play even more Pokemon.
Good. So, I mean, we all want to see more Tord Reklev out on the tournament, out playing tournaments.
That's nice to hear. I will do my best, and yeah, I will definitely go this year and try to bring something new and cool again.
Perfect. A few of our listeners were wondering, what is the most common misplay that you see players making at big tournaments? And do you have any, tips for maybe not a super pro player? Like, what is something that a player could do to quickly improve their odds of winning games at large tournaments?
What's the most common misplay or misplays? Can I choose more than one?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
I feel a lot of players play the clock kind of wrong. Say it's game 3 and it's like 15 minutes left. Then you don't care about doing the perfect plays. You just want the game to get over with. You just want to decide one of you to be the winner. So playing at the right pace, I think, is a big deal. Just correct pacing of the match. Same with, say the game 1 lasted 35 minutes, and you have 50 minutes for game 2, and you lost the first one. Then you just want the second game to finish at all costs. Like, you can't even get a tie if that game doesn't finish. You just have to win it to get the tie. So playing fast when you need to, and I'm not saying you should slow play, but if you're up 1-0, you don't have to rush as fast as you can unless you want to play game 3 as well. It kind of depends on the matchup. Sometimes I just try to rush all 3 games, because if you want 3 full games, you kind of have to rush them.
Speaking of rushing, one of your stream matches in Oceania, you were going warp speed. You were it was just crazy seeing you throwing these cards down, and then your opponent playing the slower speed. It was very cool to just see the difference in speed capable of, or what a pro player is capable of playing at. It was neat, super neat.
Well, thank you. That is a prime example of trying to finish the game rather than making optimal plays. I think
it makes for really good television. It was fun to watch.
That's good. But like in-game technical play, we can talk more about that. I think sequencing is one of the more common misplays I see. So an example is people just doing things on habit, because they think the sequencing that's best most of the time is best all the time. So example of this is, say you play the best wall deck, right?
Okay.
And you open a basic and you open Brooklet Hill and a supporter. On your first turn, you want 3 Pokemon on the field, preferably. That's the best thing you can. So you say you want a Buzzwole, a Remoraid, and a Rockruff on the field, right?
Okay.
So you open with one of these guys, and a Brooklet Hill. So you're almost there. You just need one more. So I know there's a lot of players who will use the Brooklet Hill right away, before the supporter. What I would do is use the supporter first, because then it will be more basic Pokemon in the deck for you to draw. And say you go Brooklet Hill for the Remoraid, use a supporter and draw another Remoraid.
Oops.
Then you didn't get a Rockruff. That's another reason you should wait, for example. I think people do this because they have been taught that, you should thin your deck before you use a supporter, so you can draw into other more good cards, right?
Right.
And that's very true, but it's often not true before mid to late game, where say you only have 1 bench space, usually, or want to save a bench space even for Lele. So you just want to bench one thing. Then you should play the Brooklet Hill first, so you won't draw into the basic Pokemon with your Sycamore and afterwards. But in the early stage of the game, you should value the extra basic Pokemon more than another random card you could get. So it's not worth thinning out your deck. I know this is a very tiny place, right? Most of the time it doesn't matter at all, but if you play a lot of games, these things adds up, and are things you should definitely do. But they're kind of hard to see, so that's why I think they make them very, very common mistakes.
Wow, that's something I personally haven't ever thought of, and I will think of that in the future. Yeah, that makes total sense. Like you want to draw into that basic so that you don't end up with, a double Remoraid or a double Rockruff when you want one of each. That's a great example.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that's the most common thing I see. Not only the Brooklet thing, but like it can translate to other things as well. Just sequencing right, if you should Just the order of cards you play translates to a lot of deck, I think.
Do you have any other common misplays or any tips for a newer player?
Just try to play a lot. That helps, really. But also try to think about why you do stuff, because as soon as you apply logic to your plays as well, and not just do plays, it can definitely help you. So, let's use the broccoli field example again. So, the logic is, okay, you want to thin your deck, right? But then try to think, why do you want to thin your deck? Do you want to draw into the basics with the supporter, or do you not want to draw into the basics with the supporter? So you have to ask yourself those questions as well. Not just, I'm thinning the deck, that's a good thing. You have to ask yourself if it's a good thing as well in that situation. So just try to apply logic to all your plays all the time, and adapt to the situation. The game is actually very complex if you start going into little things. Just playing the game on a more casual level is very, very easy. But if you really start to go in depth on everything, it can make things very hard. And I recommend play some games that can take 2 hours or 3, a single game of Pokemon where you just try to discuss every single little thing you do. Helps a lot if you do it with other people as well, because then you don't have to just discuss by yourself. You can hear the voices of others and get some other opinions and views on the situation. I definitely think that could help a lot of players, but it's time-consuming though, so you have to put in the work for it.
That's great advice. I hope our listeners will take that to heart. Let's switch gears one more time. A little more lighthearted here. We're just about out of questions for today. What is your favorite Pokemon, Tord?
My favorite Pokemon is Celebi.
Celebi, really? Okay.
Yes. I use a Celebi playmat. I have a Celebi metal coin, and I bring my Celebi lucky plush that my mom made me for every tournament as a mascot.
She made it for you?
Yes.
Oh, that is so cute. That is awesome. I wish my mom made me a plush.
It's actually pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I always try to use it on the stream tables, but lately I haven't been allowed, so that's sad. But I always bring it, and I feel like it helps. It's superstitious, of course, but
of course. Let's see. Tournament-wise, the next big tournament in America is the Costa Mesa Expanded Regional, and that's next weekend. For you, there is an Expanded Regional in Germany coming up in April. So before we started recording, you had mentioned that you never have really delved into Expanded. Will you go into that a little bit more? What do you think of Expanded, and what do you think the play is or might be?
So the thing is, I haven't really touched Expanded much at all. I think I can count on one hand how many games I played total in the Expanded format. So I'm definitely very inexperienced there, and it's like a whole new world to me. You try to follow the American Expanded regionals and try to stay kind of up to date on the metagame, but I played very little in the Expanded format myself, so it will be very interesting for me. I'm actually going to the German regionals in April myself, so I will have to start testing for that soon as well. It will definitely be very interesting. I hope I can bring a Zorak variant in Expanded as well. I think that's my favorite card at the moment. Okay.
Do you think that focusing on one format has been really helpful for you to be so successful this season?
Yeah, it might definitely have. When you focus all your time and energy into one thing, I definitely believe it's easier to master it, kind of. So, yeah, the more time and effort you can put into one thing, the better you should be able to do it. So, with me focusing everything I have on standard, definitely should have helped me a lot.
Cool. Well, I guess, Tord, thank you so much for coming on. There was a ton of great information here, and I really appreciate everything that we've talked about today. I have one last question, though. It's actually, will you pose a question to our listeners, our podcast listeners? Every week we ask our listeners a question that they can answer, and then we read some of their answers on the air. So if you could think of a question to ask them, they could answer it for the following week. We always ask our guests a question of the week, and it's always sprung on them. So,
all right. Questions being asked?
So the question we asked last week was, what do you think is the play for Expanded in Costa Mesa? So then people have all week to think of answers, and then we'll read them off on this week's episode, which will come out on Wednesday.
I was completely blank right now.
That's pretty normal.
My question is basically the same as I was asked now, I think, because I definitely need some help in the expanded format. So if people could answer that again, what they think is the play for expanded, that would be great.
Okay. All right, cool. I will ask them once again. So here, we could word it like, after watching Costa Mesa, what decks do you like the most now? Because that would help you. That would help you for Germany.
It would, right? So yes, that's a nice way to formulate it.
Thank you so much, Tord, for coming. I so appreciate it. You are always welcome on the podcast if you ever want to come on, and feel free to ask us for anything you need. Like anything we can do for you, we are more than happy.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I felt like I got really carried away in your questions, and we didn't get to all of them. So
no, man, way better. I'm so happy that you went in depth on the things you did.
All right, awesome. That makes me happy. Okay, then it's all good.
Well, we'll see you in later tournaments. Have a great one, Tord.
Thank you. We'll definitely see you then.
Okay, guys, so that was awesome, and we all love Tord, and I can't wait to have him on again. What did you? What do you guys think? Are you going to listen to the podcast now? I mean, I don't know if you do normally.
I do normally. Also, I'm guessing that you're going to put his podcast bumper at the front of this, so I'm going to go ahead and say this. When I listen to the podcast bumper, something hilarious about him calling himself a casual Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm definitely Tord. Putting his bumper.
The rest of us feel really bad.
I'm putting it right there on the front.
A casual Pokemon TCG player from Norway.
Because really? I told him, Tord, just say something about yourself, like 3-time international champion or greatest player on earth, just anything you want. And he's like, casual player from Norway. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to the interview when this episode goes up. So,
me too, honestly. I can't wait to edit it and listen to it again.
So with that, why don't we, I know we said we'd talk a little bit about Costa Mesa before jumping into being a pro player. So what do we got? What's going on for Costa Mesa?
The hard thing about Costa Mesa is the fact that it's expanded. And expanded just always brings in such a big show of decks. It's just insane. Because every time you look at the previous expanded event and you're like, okay, how is the meta going to shift? And is Ultra Prism going to make any impact on it? And Glaceon's really bad in its standard, but is it better in expanded? What can it do? You have all these decks out there that are relying heavily on abilities, so maybe I want to bring something like Weavile back. But then everybody's like, oh, well, let's look at these mill decks and let's put up this block with Wailord because Zora can't take care of Wailord. So then we'll put this out. You've got all these walls, and it's just constantly all these mind games that all these players are trying to figure out to get points. And I think one of the interviews that we did when we had Michael Pramawant on, when he was talking about the thing that you need to do when you're going into an event is you need to be aggressive and need to figure out what deck is going to be able to take me to X and 2 and is going to give me that aggressive approach. And you need to decide, I guess, when you're preparing for this event, are you okay going to an event to just get points? Or are you going to this event to get a maximum amount of points or to possibly win? And that's kind of the basis on how you've got to build decks. And there's a lot of hate out there right now for Expanded. In my own personal opinion, I like Expanded because I like a wide variety of decks. But we're going over to the West Coast. They love their dark. I have no idea what's going to come out in this Expanded tournament. And I think that's kind of, I do want to talk about it a little bit to kind of get an idea of what you guys think. But it just seems like, it's such an open field. Who knows what's going to win?
So, I mean, the front runners are obviously Zoroark / name a thing. And I feel like I say this before every single tournament, but I would imagine that Costa Mesa attendance is going to be rather small compared to the last 3 regionals we've had, being the biggest regionals ever, 3 in a row. I don't think that we'll have 4 in a row going into Costa Mesa. At this point, I would imagine that the people who really want to be there are the people that are going, and the people you're not going to have the same kind of attendance. And I don't want to say this because it sounds kind of mean, but you're not going to have the same kind of attendance of let's call them lower tier players that you've had at the past 3 regionals. And this is going to be the people that are going that are really, really pushing for top 16. You're going to probably have all of them there like you have had. So I think that this will be more of a clear-cut regionals than what others have been, simply because it is on the coast. And West Coast regionals in the past have definitely not been anything near attendance-wise what we've seen elsewhere. Something Zoroark is going to go in and do well because that's what all the good players are going to be playing.
I think Dan makes some really, really good points about the fact that just the overall skill level is going to be likely higher than otherwise. Because, yeah, you're right. The good players are going to be the ones that make the trek all the way there. And I mean, it's just how it is. As far as deck-wise goes, I know that there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of anti-hype for Glaceon. And depending on the person you talk to, it's either the best deck in format or it's literally trash and you're trash for even saying the word. There's love and hate, and it's really crazy to see such a contrast over one archetype. I guess personally I lean towards it's decent rather than it's terrible. So I'm gonna throw my hat in for Glaceon doing well.
I am one of those people that think Glaceon's going to do bad. I'll just pass. Danny was going to say something. I'll let him go.
Well, I think Glaceon isn't a terrible play. I think a lot of people are prepared for it and will be ready for it. But I do think that it will show some spots, at least in top 32. I don't think there'll be a lot of it, but I do think there will be a couple spots of it in top 32. I think for the most part, what you're going to see in top 32 is going to be, like Dan said, Zoroark, name a deck or name a card. I think for the most part, it's going to be Lycanroc. I think you're going to see a lot of Zoroark, Lycanroc in the top 32. You might see some Zoroark with Golisopod. You might see some Garbodor variants. It'll be interesting to see if you see any of those kind of off-the-wall decks or things that come back that haven't been played in a long time, like Primal Groudon or Mega Manectric or Excelgor or something like that. I don't know if that really has a place right now in the meta because of how fast the meta can be. You'll see some Night March in there. I think Night March is still a really strong play. I don't know if it's the play, but I think it's a safe play if you want to get some points. I don't think Wailord is going to do a whole lot. I think, again, it'll get you points. There will be a few spots in day 2, but they're going to be at the bottom of day 2 when the final standings come out. There might be a couple of Buzzwole, Landorus, Wide Lens ideas in there because you can take care of Night March pretty easily. You can obviously take care of Zorak pretty easily. And I think that's why we've seen such an increase in Buzzwole's pricing. Like, this came out, this was a $7 card, and at one point over the past week, it jumped up to $18 on TCG Player before settling back down to around 12 or 13 bucks. And I think a lot of players are kind of looking at that as a realistic opportunity to start sniping Zaruas. You can obviously take care of Zorarks pretty easily. It's a slower build. You also could see some Volcanion that takes place in day 2 because Volcanion just is one of those decks, kind of like Greninja, that always seems to stick around somehow. It always has a place in the meta. It's consistent. It always finds some way to handle the matchups. Again, it's just such an open field. Like you guys said, it's sad because you have to go to these events if you're somebody who's jockeying for top 16. So a lot of the bigger players will go out to Costa Mesa, even though it's a harder place to get to for a lot of people on the East Coast or in the Midwest because it's more expensive to fly out there. But you have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to lose your spot. A lot of great players who are already in the top 16 are over on the West Coast. They make their way to the East Coast. They're going to run into the same problem when Charlotte comes out and when Roanoke comes up in a few weeks. Like, they're going to have to go all the way to the East Coast. So maybe we should just have all regionals in Madison. Problem solved. Be a lot closer.
Yo, actually, that's a pretty good idea.
12 regionals a year, all in Madison.
That's perfect. That's really just great. Have 2 a couple months and then have a month off and then have 2 a couple months. It's really just a great idea. Mm-hmm. We can still do North American internationals somewhere else.
Would there be a better way to get like every one of our friends from across the country to move to Madison?
As just every Pokemon regional is in Madison, everyone has to move here. I mean, it just makes sense.
You heard it, TPCI. Let's do it.
Long-term. That is a long-term investment that will pay off. Profit.
Real
All right,
value.
should we pick a winner?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, why don't you start us off?
We going decks or players?
Decks.
All right. I'm going to go with Zoroark Weavile.
I'm going to go with Zoroark Counter. I'm saying that because we have 2 new deep dive episodes with Cameron Shinoy. The first 2 new ones for specifically Costa Mesa. One was Night March with Finnegan Lynch, and the other was Counter Zoroark with Xander Perot. And he was very convincing. Like, I think the list looked really cool. So I'm going to go with that Counter Zoro. It looks solid.
I'm going to go with Lonzoroark. Lonzo.
I like it.
So we're all going with the Zoroark variant.
Yeah, it's really an easy call, honestly. We're all kind of just copping out here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what doesn't play Zoroark these days,
Even Night March plays Zoroark.
Right?
Yeah.
What is this life we live in? So that's Costa Mesa. I haven't really seen any preliminary attendance numbers. I haven't really seen much information about a stream. Have you guys seen anything?
You can really tell that Josh isn't doing the social media for this one.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, I haven't seen a darn thing for this. Nothing.
I could literally tell you nothing about it.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get some news coming up over the next couple days here, and then we'll blast it out on our social media outlets. So that way you can keep up to date with the stream. Hopefully there is one with attendance numbers, with decks. We have some pro players who are going, some AM team members who are going. So we'll keep in contact with them to see how things are going over the weekend. But with that, we can move on to our next segment. And there's been a lot of love, I guess, for like the journey of being a Pokemon player. So I kind of debated back and forth about, do I want to take it back to the beginning? But we can save that for another topic, another week, because I know that there's been some people who are just getting into the game, just looking at getting into the game, and they've got this whole slew of cards, that they bought at a rummage sale or they bought at a flea market, and they don't know how to go about making a deck or how to build a deck or go to league or something like that. But we've also gotten a lot of questions about, hey, I want to take the next step. and maybe not this year, but next year I want to move into becoming a pro player, and we have a pro team. We are lucky enough that we get to talk with them on a daily basis and see all the work that they put themselves through. So I guess, Dan, since you're probably the one who's in most contact with them, why don't you talk a little bit about what being a pro player actually means, what kind of sacrifices you have to give up, and what all goes into becoming a player of that caliber that could be donned the title of a pro player.
So, yeah, I think out of the three of us, I'm definitely in contact with our pro players more. And that's not for any particular reason other than I'm like the team manager. So, but anyways, one thing you said, I don't like the word sacrifice, because being really all you're sacrificing is time. Now that sounds kind of weird because time is literally everything, but the time that you're spending testing is ultimately making you a pro Pokemon player. Not only that, but giving you the time to travel across the country, sometimes across the world, meet people from places you'd never thought you'd know someone from, like North Dakota. But these guys that are on the pro teams, I can't speak for every pro team, but I can speak for the team DDG. And these guys are literally testing every single day. Our team uses a simulator even that will okay, if I play 1,000 hands, how likely am I to hit turn one Bridget every single time, and they're going through all these scenarios and different card options, and it definitely is a lot of work. It's not something that everyone can do. But as far as what it really takes to be a pro player and what you kind of gain from it, to be a pro player, you can't go it's tough. People they watch. So there's very often that someone wins a regional. It's their first regionals whenever. And you're like, oh, they won a regional. It's yeah, they were a good Pokemon player for that weekend. But how are they going to continue? And then we've seen people like Michael Pramawat come along, and he's literally the 7 god. He's won 7 regionals, that's insane. And then we have people like Israel, who's won 5. And I don't think anyone else has won that many. I know there's a few people with 4, but all these Pokemon players, these pro Pokemon players, are not one-hit wonders. They're people who consistently do well at events, and that's because they consistently travel. And I think that's one thing that people definitely don't understand is, oh, I'm good at Pokemon and I play locally at my league. Well, that, great. If you could be the best person in New York City, but if you never leave New York City, then you're probably not going to be a pro Pokemon player. Part of being sponsored by a team is traveling and repping the team and the company that you're sponsored with. Our guys wear hoodies and have playmats, and they post on social media about Team DDG. And you can't just be good at Pokemon. You have to be, I read this earlier, but you have to be an ambassador for the game, and that really is important. A lot of pro players, not all, but a lot of them are creating content. And that's kind of what I mean by when I say ambassador for the game. They're creating content for people to get better, because that's putting that out there is helping people get better. That makes you an ambassador for the game. And just helping the game grow, whether it be competitively or casually. So, these players, they're testing all the time. They're traveling all the time. So a lot of their time is Pokemon, but it's Pokemon Day. So at least for me, Pokemon has been basically my whole life. It's given me everything that I have for where I'm at right now. So I definitely don't look at any of that as a bad thing. But also on the flip side of that, all of us have lives outside of Pokemon, and while we could never see ourselves doing things that aren't Pokemon related, we do all have other things. So I guess when Danny said sacrifice, the biggest sacrifice is time, because no one out there will tell you that oh, I'm a part-time pro Pokemon player. And if they do tell you that, they're either shouldn't be a pro player or they're, because it definitely takes a full-time schedule to be able to travel the way that they do and test the way that they do and consistently do well at the tournaments they consistently do well at. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, I think so. Darren, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
If you want to be a pro Pokemon player, like Dan said, you have to invest the time. But it's also very important to not cheat. Like, it's so easy to, figure out tips and tricks to take the easy way to the top, but it's just as easy to fall back down to earth, and it's not worth it. So
you're absolutely right. One thing, when we were doing the recruiting process for our team, for the new revamped version of Team TDG, was that when Danny and Kayla were going through all the recruitment process, one of the things was like, those guys literally went back and read through forums from like 2008 and like on, to make sure that none of the players on our team have ever been like accused of cheating, like even accused of it, that they had like really nothing bad behind them. And I can't speak for every team out there, again, like I said, but ours, at least, 0% cheating or untrustworthiness as far as an opponent goes. So that was a pretty important deal when we were going through everything. So not cheating is in a part of, like, it's part of their contract. Like, hey, don't do this or you're gone. So that's a really good point. I really like you bringing that up. And, I talked a lot, I guess, about like what pro players are and what they do. But like, as far as becoming one, like I said, you can't be a one-hit wonder. You can't go somewhere top 8 one regional and then, decide like, hey, this is I'm good at Pokemon now. Where's all my things? Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Like I said, you got to go to events. Also, like all of us have really met people from around the country that we're able to call friends, and networking is such a big part of it too, because once you start networking, you'll start being able to test with more people, and once you start testing with more people, you'll get different ideas on things. Once you get different ideas on things, you'll be able to start forming those kinds of ideas on your own, and once you're able to do that, you'll be testing better, you'll be playing better, you'll be wanting to travel more, you'll become a Pokemon player. Boom, professional. But
easy
like I said,
peasy.
it's well, it sounds that way when I put it that way. Yeah, absolutely. But there's got to be that time invested. And not only that, but I think one thing, at least that I look for in our team members, is like team relationship is a big thing. And treating your team members literally like family is huge to me. I think that we have a pretty tight-knit group of guys. And as far as I'm concerned, the 23 best Pokemon players, but it just a lot of good stuff coming from the team. And that's definitely something that if you're closed off and you're behind yourself and you're not willing to talk to other people and whatever else, but no, it's just great to be able to say, like, our team is awesome. They're amazing. We have the privilege to manage such an amazing team. And for those of you that are wanting to do something along those lines, like I said, you got to have the time, you got to be willing to create content, and you need to be able to network. Like, if you can do those 3 things, you're well on your way.
Heck yeah. That's
I think
great
one of the
advice.
big things, or a couple of the big things, as far as becoming a better player, becoming a pro player, is you talked before about consistency and not being a one-hit wonder. Like, there are pro players who only go to, let's say, half the regionals a year and are able to consistently perform at each one, but it takes a lot of work when they're not at regionals. So whether it be going to local leagues or league cups or things like that in their area and making sure that they test different things. Like, we joke about Tord saying that he's a casual Pokemon player, but while he may be casual at event participation, he's not casual at playing the actual game. So using the online, PTCGO and testing properly, looking at card scans, getting an idea of what's coming out in next sets, what it can be paired up with, reading articles, researching, talking to people. Dan was talking before about getting connected and meeting people, like brainstorming ideas with other players, whether they be casual or professional, whatever, whoever you can form a good relationship with, and just start working with them and talking to them and getting ideas off of them. Like, I'm not by any means a good player, but I get to see a lot of good information that goes on and circulates through our chats, which make me feel like a better player now than what I was when I was actually playing the game, just because of that information that I've been given. You want to go through and get an idea of every card that's coming out in the new set, so that way you can build a buy list right away, and you can write down, okay, I need 4 of this card, I need 4 of this card, I need a playset of this, just so you can have those cards readily available, so you can start testing right away. Utilizing PTCGO as far as like trading packs on the day that the new set comes out for the cards that you need, building the decks, brainstorming different ideas and testing them. Like, you can tell within 10 to 15 games if your deck is going to be a viable option or if you need to completely scrap that idea and go with something else. Like, you can tell just by playing a few times what techs are going to work and what techs aren't going to work. And pay attention to the forums, pay attention to Facebook, pay attention to what's going on out there, because then you know what a lot of planning is coming up for upcoming events, and that helps give you that edge. You have to test every single matchup so many times because you have to know, like, when we talk to our pro players, they know what card to play exactly when an opponent plays a card. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm playing Night March and Dan's playing Buzzwole, like, I need to know at what point do I play Teammates, or at what point do I lay down Zoroark, or what do I search for with my Ultra Ball, on turn 1. I have to know every single step what I'm going to do. Like, it can't all be turn 1, Lele for, or Ultra Ball for Lele, Lele for Bridget, Bridget for these 3 cards. Like, that's pretty standard, but you need to know those micro decisions throughout the entire game. Like, that's how you become a pro player. That's how you top consistently at events, is getting all that information that you may not think of right away. Like, you can get lucky at events and make top 32 one day by playing a strong deck and getting decently lucky in your matchups. But as far as becoming a pro player, you need to have consistent performances and understand those micro decisions all the time. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is getting that knowledge and information based on testing and the hours that you put in. So I guess that kind of sums up a lot of what you said, more in a nutshell.
So one thing, you had mentioned Tord. I think there was a previous interview. I can't remember who it was with, but something along the lines of Tord played like 2,000 games with the deck he won in EUIC with. That's nuts. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing 2,000 times, or however many times, it might have been more. That's dedication.
Yeah. It's a lot of dedication. Well, I think we've talked enough about that, but we'll talk more about in the future, we'll talk more about different levels of playing Pokemon to try and catch up with, whatever level you may be at when you're listening to this podcast, and try and help people along as they go. Not by any means saying that we have an understanding, but if you're new or getting into the game, or if you're semi-competitive looking to make it into a more competitive outlet in the game, like, we can try and help out as much as we can. So with that, we can move on to the next topic, which is Green Day. Can I say Green Day on a podcast? Is that copyrighted?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet. We're moving to our Green Day segment. I thought Dan might approve of this one.
Yep.
Cool.
American Idiot's not my favorite album by Green Day by any means, but...
Did you know what news is good news? What song that is? The first topic that we had today?
If I feel like an idiot after you tell me, can Darrin cut it?
Yeah, but Darrin won't cut it. It's Newfound Glory.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't have got that. I'm not a huge NFG guy.
Fair enough.
I like him a little bit, but not enough to like that I would.
Takes a certain spice. So I want to talk a little bit about Boulevard of Broken Streams, just to kind of give everybody an idea on where we're at with Madison, and kind of brainstorm. I was going to call it a brain streaming session, but I figured this was a little bit better. So we talked last week about the stream that happened in, help me out,
Collinsville.
Collinsville. No, was it Collinsville?
Dallas?
What was the last regional that we just had?
Collinsville.
Collinsville, yeah, the stream that happened in Collinsville. So we talked a little bit about that and the things. I guess we didn't talk too much about specifics of what we liked and didn't like. But have you guys thought any more about the Madison stream now that we are? I mean, I don't know how many days.
3 months
we are
away at this point.
Yeah,
So
crazy close.
yeah, I actually want to get I want to get our stream team, our commentators set up like this week. Just get them to start like practicing together because if you get like I've said it before, but I will accept nothing less than the best unofficial stream there's been.
So as far as that's interesting because I was talking to somebody before about the stream and what it takes to be, a good streamer or a good content provider and what kind of research and development you go into to be, quote unquote, the very best or like no one ever was before. And I gave them some ideas of what I would expect or what I want. And I guess I can bounce this off of you and see what you think. I want somebody who is going into the stream to be somebody who is well researched and is consistently showing improvement. So if it's somebody who's done things before, like we shoot a podcast. So I've researched things about podcasting. Like I know that you want to hit different inflections in your voice and you want to say things at a different area. Like I'll do tongue twisters and things like that prior to beginning a podcast. That way I make sure to articulate things that I'm saying so it doesn't sound like a bunch of mumbled hubbub. I've taken acting classes before and I've read books on acting and things like that in the past. And I know that's taking it kind of to the extreme, but if you want somebody who's really setting themselves apart and somebody who's making it like no one ever was, is that something that you're kind of looking for too? Somebody who's putting in work like that in order to be, the very best in that trade?
So I think, one thing that I think, we've talked about trying to not just have a stream like no one ever was, but also giving people opportunities that they might not have had elsewhere. Whether that be the commentating team or ad space opportunities or whatever it may be. I think that there's definitely a way for us to do both. And that's, I think, why I want to get a lot of this stuff nailed down, as soon as we can, because the more time that we're able to sit here and decide, like, hey, this is what the team is going to be, this is what the stream is going to look like, all this other stuff, the more people can start looking at it, and the more people can start practicing, and the more time that we kind of goes back to the same thing when I was talking about how to become a pro player. The more time that we can put into this stream being professional, the more professional it'll be. Obviously. So once we can start getting all this stuff figured out, I really think that we have a very good opportunity to hit the ground and make sure that Madison is not the only time you go to twitch.tv/Deaddrawgaming for an unofficial tournament stream.
Man, you know what I really want? I want to find a table that's a decent size that we could easily have 2 people sitting at, and I want to cut holes in the table. And I want to put plexiglass in those holes. And I want our players to put their prize cards on that plexiglass. And I want our stream watchers to know what those cards are, but not the players. Yes, that's right. I want prize cams.
I really think that that's going to be easier to do than what you think it's going to be.
No, it's going to be super easy. The thing is I have to do it. That's all.
Right.
And make it sound dramatic.
I mean, no, this is really difficult. We did a good job.
Proud of us. But to be for real, one thing that one thing that I know it's tough, and it's maybe not going to happen. One thing that no other unofficial stream has done is a backup stream or multiple tables, because what you see in a lot of unofficial streams is they'll have their one match. When that match is over, it's that's it. It's time to just watch the blank screen until the next match.
Well, I think Fort Wayne actually did that. They had one other match going.
Okay.
It wasn't commentated the whole time, but they did have another match going.
Well, good. That's grand. Let's emulate that.
But the other thing that Fort Wayne didn't do was, like, I mean, there's no telling that both those matches are going to, what if they both take 20 minutes? Well, that's where we're going to be different. We want to have those commercials. And one idea that I had, and I was talking, I don't remember who I was talking to about this. It might have been you guys, because it was a pretty quick thought, but like how difficult it would be to have like someone or two people on site, one with a camera, one with a microphone, wirelessly walking around the event and like doing player interviews with just people walking by. I think that could be really cool. I have no idea
how tough that would be.
I was talking to someone about that. I don't remember who, but like I really think that could be cool alongside like the different, like whatever commercials or ads that we have playing on the stream. Just some really cool different things, I think it's impossible to go through 11 hours of Pokemon with no downtime at all.
Right.
There might be a little bit, but we have like even some in-house music producers that will be able to give us some music that we'll be able to play when there is that downtime where it says, next match starting in 3 minutes, whatever seconds, if we have to go 3 to 5 minutes between rounds to just kind of get everything figured out, then like, hey, that kind of sucks, but I'd rather have only 5 minutes of downtime and everything is correct than have 40 minutes of downtime and it still sucks.
Yeah, I think I've thought a lot about the stream and what can be done with it. And I think that there's a lot of great ideas out there. I think a lot of it comes down to advertising space and sponsorship opportunities and things like that, which is kind of what I've tried to work on as much as I possibly can. Obviously, we want to make this different and special and make it seem like, we want to set the bar for streaming moving forward. We want to make it where every TCG regional is like, hey, we want you to do the stream. We want you to come out here and handle this if it can't be officially streamed. Like there would be no greater compliment than something like that. Even just compliments. Like, we want to hear good, positive feedback. This is our first try at this. We want everything to go off without a hitch. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in preparing for it, but a lot of it's going to come down to advertising dollars and sponsorship money and making sure that we're not breaking the proverbial bank on ourselves to produce a high quality stream. And a lot of these ideas and goals and aspirations are unfortunately going to come down to that. So I think that's kind of where I've been at right now at the beginning, is trying to figure out ways that we can recuperate the loss that we're going to take on producing this stream to the point where basically we break even on it and aren't investing a ton of our own finances into it. So that way we can provide different opportunities and different information and a different experience, which is kind of what it's all about. And I think ideas are great, and it's great to brainstorm different ideas and come up with things that are unique and will set us apart from other people. It's just coming up with the not fun things first in order to be able to provide those more fun things later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hunted.
Cool.
I definitely don't disagree with anything that you said, so.
But I think a lot of the ideas that you guys are coming up with, having a backup stream, having prize cams, like having all that stuff, a lot of it's going to come down to having good quality equipment, having a highly efficient and well-produced stream, because a lot of people are like, oh, the stream looks like crap. Well, a lot of that is from, the production method of it all. Like, being able to provide a well-produced stream is what's going to make it attractive to the eye. having good chat moderators and having, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it than just setting up a Logitech camera and saying, go at it. You want to make sure that all the homework is done and the sizing is perfect of the card scans and where you have your cameras, if you want it on a face or if you want it on, how much a time ticker for the round or who won game 1, game 2, whatever the case may be, having all that information on there and setting up a good layout. Like there's a lot of work. It's not just set up the camera, sit down at a table and commentate, 9 rounds of Pokemon. And I think we've done a good job of preparing ourselves for that. But
yeah, could not agree more that this is not just a put your camera stand on the table and talk over it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me so angry.
I knew it. I wanted to get you buzzed.
So angry.
He's buzzing.
It's 2018 and people are still putting their cameras on the table.
Oh man,
awesome. Well, why don't we move on, because I know this is going a little bit longer. Let's move on to the first Beatles song, because the Beatles are like my fave.
8 days a week, the top 5 common Pokemon cards in the current format.
Oh baby,
for our weekly top 5.
There it is, weekly top 5. I'm gonna jump right in. My number 5, Circle Circuit Raichu, is a common in the second Radiant collection.
Generations.
Busted.
Yeah.
Nice.
Darn it. Forgot about that one.
There's just so many of them. It's tough to remember them all.
Well, in my case, then, I don't remember exactly what Plasma said it was, but Shelmet, the one with Yawn.
Cool.
So my number 5 is Alolan Vulpix with Beacon.
That's great.
Busted. How did I?
Number 4, it's a Zubat, but it has free flight. Free flight Zubat.
Nice.
That's my number 4, Free Flight Zubat.
Hey, cool.
My number 4 is Phantom with Ascension.
Cool.
Oh.
Number 3 for me, Pumpkaboo with Night March.
My number 3 is Bubble Froakie.
Nice. My number 3 is Energy Evolution Eevee.
Nice.
My number 2 is Joltik with Night March.
Darrin, Lampent is not a common.
Excuse me,
So
what?
You can't say. Lampent is not a common, is it?
I know.
I just thought we were going on a trend here.
My number 2 is Propagation Execute.
Oh, I really thought that was going to be number 1 for everybody.
I thought that was uncommon. Because I looked it up, and it is uncommon.
Oh.
No.
Get Shrek'd. Yes, it is.
I 100% know it's not.
He just said he looked it up.
So did I. I made sure.
I also made sure. And that's why it's not on my list. Number 4 from Plasma Freeze.
I didn't look it up. I just assumed it was a common.
F.
Oh, it was on my list as my number 1, and then I'm like, maybe it's not common, and I took it off.
Whew. I'm glad I didn't say it for mine yet.
Is Alolan Vulpix from
That's so good. Danny, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Paralyzing Gaze Zorua.
Yeah, I had that on my list, and I took it off when I remembered Circle Circuit Raichu. But my number 1, Danny already said it, Energy Evolution Eevee.
My number 1 is Joltik.
Yeah.
With Night March.
I like that card.
Put any Night Marchers in here. My number 1 is Free Flight Zubat.
Cool. Look at that.
No Night Marchers, huh? Is Zubat the only one that we all had?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because you didn't have Eevee, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so yeah, just Zubat.
And I'm the only one who had Phantom.
Yes, you are.
I didn't put any Night Marchers on my list, though.
Dan's the only one that had Froakie.
Yep.
I think the reason I didn't put any Night Marchers on it is because they weren't good, like, on their own. Like, they needed, you needed so many more
They needed their friends just like we all need our friends.
Exactly.
They need it. Happy Pokemon Day.
Happy Pokemon. The only difference is night marchers need their friends dead.
Oh.
That's true.
It's a
All right,
revenge
Darren, why
deck.
don't you take us into our next segment?
Next segment. Wait, what? Our next segment is Question of the Week. Just one note.
Did you know Don't Ask Me No Questions is a song by Leonard Skinner?
I didn't know that.
There you go.
Learning. So, last week we wanted to know what is the play for Costa Mesa, because I think everyone wants to know what is the play. What's going to win Costa Mesa? We got a few responses. Let's head over to Twitter first. We have a response from @Timony TCG. Something Zoroark. I think he's onto something.
He's on to
Next-
something.
Yes, onto something. That's right. Next up, Curious Cleffa. What's the play? Man, do I want to know. I am not ready for expanded.
Should you just answer our question of the week with our question of the week?
Yes.
He.
I feel like you've made that mistake before.
Questionception. Next response comes from @Happa4. It's a GIF of Combees. I'm thinking someone's liking Vespiquen. And one response from Chan, the Mizukage, saying Lapras. Let's head over to Facebook. We have a response from Steven saying Landorus, Buzzwole, Lycanroc, Target Whistle, Wide Lens. That's a lot of stuff. That's a very specific deck, and I love it. Wide Lens, man. That's great. And then Luis said, I played Wide Lens in Dallas. It basically beats any Zoroark variant, Landy and Buzzy Boys. And of course, like we try to do most commonly, end with our Discord channel. Discord channel. Hey, here we go. DDG Chris says Buzzwole Carbink is going to take Costa Mesa. Followed up by the Colonel saying Buzzrock with a twist of Carbink for flavor. And, in at the last second, Notorious DDG says Greninja. What? No, he says Fairy Box. You like Fairy Box? Oh, Aromatisse, man.
I miss Aromatisse.
And you don't like Diantha? I don't understand.
So, you're very rarely not, like, you're never attacking with a fairy type. So, like, Diantha's only good if your opponent does the right thing and knocks out Aromatisse. And then you gotta have Diantha. Like, that's
true.
It's really the only fairy attacker you play. And it's not, or the fairy Pokemon you play, it's not even an attacker.
I gotcha. I get it. It gets your Aromatisse and it gets them back out of your discard right after they are killed.
So
Or
does
is it
Rescue
items? Or is it items? I can't remember now.
I mean, it's just 2
Regardless.
cards from your discard.
Is it
pile.
just 2 cards? Whatever. Regardless, those were our answers, and we answered it earlier in the episode. What are we going to ask this week? So I did ask Tord, by the way, so you guys know. I asked Tord what he wanted to ask for question of the week, and he said, what was last week's question? And I said it was, what's the play for Costa Mesa? And he said, that sounds good. Ask that again. Because he doesn't know. Tord has played fewer than 5 games of Expanded in his life. And his next regional is an expanded tournament in Germany. So he's really excited to see how Costa Mesa shapes up. So, I mean, maybe we could think of a different question.
I have something, yes.
Oh, Dan! Coming in clutch. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so it's in celebration of Pokemon Day. And I know these questions are going to get very long answers, so we're going to have to pick and choose because there's no way we're going to be able to read every single one. And we might have honestly like even asked this question before, like last year on Pokemon Day, I feel like maybe happened. But what I want to know from you guys is there's been a lot of posts on social media today explaining, how Pokemon has really shaped people's lives. So I just want to know, like, I want your favorite or your most memorable Pokemon moment.
I love it. So, question of the week for next week, you guys. What is your most memorable Pokemon memory? What's your favorite Pokemon memory? Also, side question. Tord wants to know what he needs to play in Expanded. So, pay attention to Costa Mesa. Decide what you liked most from Costa Mesa, and let us know so that Tord can know what to play in his first major Expanded tournament.
One of you guys could be the gift of Tord's winning deck.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
I told Tord to play that on the Deaddrawgaming podcast, so...
Oh, just think of all the people... Oh, you could say that to, like, a girl going, like... a lot of people are going to prom soon, so if you're in high school and you're thinking about prom, just be like, yeah, I told Tord Reklev what deck to play for an Expanded tournament, no big deal. That'll get you the date, I promise. Anyway, leave your response to either or both questions in all the normal places on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, to our email. Oh, that reminds me, we had one in our email. Oh, we also got one response from our email, which is pretty rare. Imani says, I think Zoroark will do pretty good, although there might be some Dusk main Necrozma. What do you think of that, Dan?
An Expanded?
Yeah.
So do you play one of the... play Dual Brains Magnezone.
Yeah.
And you play Magnetic Circuit. Or what's the lightning one? The Lightning Magnezone from Breakthrough, his ability, I can't think of what it's called. Maybe it's just Magnetic Circuit.
I think it is just Magnetic Circuit.
So you play one of each.
Yeah, just have 3 different Magnezones out, really go ham, and then watch the Hex Maniacs fly.
Not if you hex them first with your second supporter. Then they can't play Hex.
Bruh.
Why can't they play Hex?
Shh.
Anyway, that's
Because
our question of the week.
with Executor.
Just, oh man.
Yep, because...
Shake it off. Yeah, just...
That's not the same one.
Blockade Executor.
It's all about music. This is the music episode. Did you not know?
Every episode is a music episode.
I love it. Well, that was it for question of the week. What's up next? What do we got left?
We've got Can't Buy Me Love, which is our buy-sell trade of the week.
Ooh.
Darrin.
Danny, how'd you do this week?
Am I missing something?
Okay, I'll tell my story. So, we had a new player at League, and we were sitting down planning out his deck, his first competitive deck in a while, and he had a lot of really cool cards. Like a lot of cool cards, including like a Rainbow Lele. And then he had this giant baggie of codes, and he's like, I've been collecting my codes forever. I'm like, I would love to trade for those. And I ended up trading him about $25 worth of cards out of my binder. And he was more than happy with that. I'm like, what else would you like? He's like, no, this is good. I'm like, okay. Dan, did you get a chance to figure out exactly how many codes that was?
I haven't counted, but my guess is it's roughly 400.
There you go. 400 codes for $25. That's my buy-sell trade of the week.
That's not terrible. I'm just kidding. That's good.
What?
He's just giving me a hard time. He knows.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
That's literally 6 cents a code.
6.25, 6.25 cents per code.
Get
Right?
wrecked.
Isn't that what it is?
No, it's not the point.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. So as far as buy sell trade of the week, I don't know why it's buy sell trade. Usually we just buy. Darrin listed the PSA cards, the gem mint ones on eBay. So Darrin is selling those right now, which is pretty cool because there are some of them that actually have bids. I think I looked at the first edition Blaine's Charizard and it was at like $570.
Already?
Yeah, something
Dude,
like that.
Like
that's the only
100?
one I put a. That's the only one I put a reserve on, just because it was so valuable, and it looks like we're gonna hit that reserve really soon.
Yeah, it was. I was very happy when I saw how high it already was. So yeah, that's cool. As far as buying goes, I did buy quite a few Buzzwoles, and I think I bought 9 of them. I bought quite a few Zorak GXs. I bought some codes, Ultra Prism, Guardians Rising. Those are pretty easy to sell right now. I also bought some Burning Shadows codes. Those are pretty easy to sell right now. I bought some fruit roll-ups from the store.
Ooh,
So that way we had some of those 3-card packs. I don't know why I did that, but
Dibs
why
on the
not?
fruit roll-ups.
I saw Charlie was asking about those.
Yeah, he was asking about those. Apparently, a lot of people are having a hard time finding them, but I went to my Walmart, local Walmart, and they were all over the place. So,
Wow.
I want some fruit roll-ups.
Yeah, now I kind of do too.
ooh, I don't think I've had a fruit roll up in so long.
Some fruit by the foots.
I got
That's-
some Duskmane Necrozmas in. I got some Glaceon GXs in.
Ooh.
I don't think there was anything like really out there that I bought, unfortunately. So I'd like to start as we go inch closer and closer to Madison. We also have to remember that we are vending the event, so I want to make sure that I start trying to find some of the harder to find cards because for the most part our staples are pretty good. We've been able to keep ourselves pretty full on staples for the most part. There's still a fair amount of staples that we need to stock up a little bit more on, but other than that, buy sell trade hasn't really happened that much recently because we invested so much in Ultra Prism and we're investing so much in Madison. So we're just going to keep looking for good deals and move forward with that. So that's it. So we can move on to the great wide open. Talk about open discussion.
Open discussion. Hey, I moved my league to Sundays. Dan, you knew that, right?
Yeah, I was there when you were telling everybody.
Just 4,000% double checking because that needs to happen. I think we're going to get more people. Also, the store owner there, he messaged me today about looking into getting the pre-release paperwork started. So I doubt we'll get approved right away because we haven't even had league challenges yet. But who knows? Maybe we'll have pre-releases sometime soon.
Yo, I'm gonna start winning league challenges.
Not if
Yo,
I go.
Danny, you should actually come. I think I have to hold.
challenge master.
I think I'll have to hold like at least one for funsies tournament. So I think I'll probably set something up for April.
Dude, make it expanded so I can play Fairy Box.
I could probably do that.
Yes.
Otherwise, for Pokemon open discussion, Darren, yeah, that's about it. I haven't got my Rayquaza yet. I've been so off the wall busy lately. Ugh, I'm so sad.
Yeah, I've really got nothing for open discussion. So, Dan, you can go ahead.
I have just a quick note, I guess. I've started streaming again.
Yeah.
So I didn't stream tonight because we're podcasting. But I
Right.
did stream the last 3 nights other than that, and I'm planning on streaming the next 3 nights also. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night streams also. And we'll see what Saturday and Sunday bring us.
How many of those streams are going to be Pokemon?
At least 2.
Awesome. That sounds great.
I streamed some Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. That game was super fun.
Hey, I was watching you stream that, and I was super lost. Like, it was like you had it playing in turbo mode. I could not keep up.
I was doing some auto duels where the game just does it for you.
Oh, I love those games that just play
Yeah.
the game for you. I used to play games like that too.
It's sort of like you get your auto duels and then you get like your PvP. So
Oh,
like the auto
gotcha.
duel, it's like you're just playing against a bot. You get basically nothing for it, but
Right.
it's neat. So yeah, no, I know a couple of our AM team members also play, and that's what got me into it. So thanks to them. Thanks, Austin and Chris.
That's funny.
So, and we did get an article from Austin regarding Golisopod Garbodor.
Nice.
So that I'm hoping will be up sometime soon for you guys.
Yeah, the editor-in-chief here at Deaddrawgaming has a large chunk of Wednesday set aside for catch-up.
Cool. All right. Well, Dan, why don't you take us home?
All right. So, you guys, if you enjoyed episode number 73 of Deaddrawgaming, a Pokemon TCG podcast like no one ever was, make sure to hit the like button down below and share this podcast with all of your friends. A huge thank you to the casual Norwegian player, Tord Reklev, for jumping on and doing an interview with Darrin. You guys make sure to check us out next week for episode number 74, where we will talk all about Costa Mesa and how expanded format turned out to be. But that's all we have for you this week. So for Janie, for Darrin, and for myself, Dan, we will see you next time.